Hi again, Ngong from Happiness Education. I'm a registered migration agent. Kusuzangpola. In today's session, I will touch upon Skilled Employer Sponsored Regional Visa, Subclass Biogene 494. Now, two things are quite prominent, which is in the name of the visa itself: employer and regional, which hints that you need an employer who needs to sponsor you in your nominated occupation, and this is going to take place in a regional setting. This visa, allows regional employers to sponsor workers where there are, shortages in the market, and they have not been able to, get Australian citizens or permanent residents to take up such job because of the labor shortages. And this visa lets you stay in Australia for a period of 5 years from the date of grant, and it also offers opportunity to try for permanent residence visas that you can avail after 3 years of being on this visa. So what are the eligibility requirements for this visa? Number one, age. You must be less than 45 to be eligible. There are certain exemptions, and this applies to some of the temporary skill shortage visa, subclass 482, which I covered in my previous video. If you have been on that visa, and worked in a nominated occupation for the past 2 years, you are exempted from age criteria. And there are also exemptions for occupations like scientists, researchers, etc. Skills assessment is also a must for this visa. If you remember, I did mention in the temporary skill shortage subclass 482 video that skills assessment is not a must for every occupations, but it's mandatory for certain occupations and for visa applicants from certain nationalities. But in this visa, you must have a positive outcome from the skills assessment done by the assessing authority. There are certain exempt occupations like university lecturers, faculty heads, etc. And if you are also on the subclass 482 temporary skill shortage visa for the past 2 years working in a nominated occupation, you need not undertake a skills assessment for applying for this visa. If you recall the temporary skill shortage subclass 482 video, you will probably remember sponsors and nominations, and also even for this visa, your sponsor, who is an approved standard business sponsor, must nominate you in a nominated occupation. So that's one of the core eligibility requirements. Then you also need to have a little higher level of English than your subclass 482, which was 5 overall, 5 and minimum 5 in all bands in the medium term stream. But for this visa, you need to have competent English, which is an IELTS overall 6 and a minimum of 6 in all bands. And I'm sure you all know, but the IELTS validity must be 3 years. So if you really look closely at visa subclass 482 temporary skill shortage, which I covered in another video, and this visa 494, there are a lot of similarities in terms of how an applicant can meet the eligibility requirements. Now, the few subtle differences between these visas are that for 482 you need not be of a particular age, but for 494 visa you need to be less than 45 years. And on a 482 visa, you could potentially work in any part of Australia, whether it's regional or metro. But for 494, you have to work in a designated regional area. And even the skills assessment part, for 482, you had mandatory skill assessments for certain categories, while in this you just have the need to do a mandatory skills assessment for all occupations with few exempt occupations. So subtle differences between the two visa subclasses, but you could potentially be eligible for one or the other because of so many common eligibility requirements in place.